Oh hey, I didn't see you come in. Have we talked about retro CGI yet? So basically, since around the 2010s, old school computer animation has been working its way back into mainstream culture. It's like general audiences are becoming more and more nostalgic for it. I remember experiencing Vaporwave for the first time and having this excited feeling like I suddenly remembered a forgotten happy or sad dream from when I was 12 years old. I've seen video essays describing the CGI style as silicon dreams. I sometimes post my computer art on a subreddit called Retro CGI. r/Retro CGI defines Retro CGI as a new art with an attempt to capture those old school renders by using new or old tools to accomplish this. The strange yet familiar quality of Scott Cawthon's art comes from the traditional pre-rendered video games. His signature style is a result of the same 3D Studio Max pipelines that Blizzard used in the 90s. There have been many Gen Z attempts to index this kind of art with labels, or mere internet aesthetic categories. And of course, it often falls into that creepy pasta territory with tropes like Baldi's Basics, or the goofy direction with whatever this is. So, it's like this bowling animation aesthetic that's always getting more popular. But pretty much all the tutorials are how to make retro CGI by fudging around in Blender. You don't actually have to fake it at all, and it's fairly easy to pick up and learn in real vintage software. I've been using this software for a long time called Animation Master, and even though it's ancient, it's been updated to run natively on modern operating systems. It's not capable of photorealism, at least by any modern standards, and you can only make objects using these bendy wires called splines. But that combo of plasticky lighting and smooth organic shapes result in a completely authentic 2000s CGI vibe. Here, check this out. Everything you're seeing is made entirely in Martin Hash's Animation Master. Back in the day, I think a lot of people just called it Hash. There isn't one style that really defines retro CGI, but when you see renders made in Hash, there's this aha moment. That's something called prototype theory. The retro CGI look is actually the result of a few limitations. Many people think retro CGI means low poly, but the weird thing is that a lot of early CGI was designed using splines, basically a forgotten workflow. The teapot was made with Bezier curves. Hash is built entirely on splines, smooth curves that define these surfaces Hash calls patches. The blocky look came later from 5th generation video games. I've noticed a lot of fan-made retro CGI is just primitives floating around in space. There was this old tired trend of throwing a few simple shapes into Bryce 3D for some kind of drum and bass aura farm. We can do better. To get unstuck from these aesthetic cliché, we can start any original model with the simple lathe tool. Lathe is kind of like rolling clay in your hands. This yellow guy is Tom. He's the Hash mascot. Tom is basically a lathe demo. With just one spline, you can start most kinds of things. It's an underrated artist device that you stay simple when making original objects in 3D, so you don't get overwhelmed. Bottles, flowers, oil lamps, bombs, you want it, it's yours, my friend. Old CGI is great for making surreal, dreamy images. My mind goes to those 70s sci-fi fantasy paintings and Salvador Dali melting clocks. Because it's all curves, you can just bend it like those gooey 90s commercials. Chips Ahoy and Fruit Gushers ads were both animated in Hash. Animation Master is a love letter to 90s CGI. The simple way materials look in Hash really set it apart from complex modern shaders. Hash makes rigging bones super straightforward. Not those bones, silly. Give anything bones quickly and rig them automatically with one click. Now you can see each bone's influence with these fun little colors. Rigging used to make me cringe, but now I think it's pretty trivial. There are very simple particle systems in Hash and even hair, from around the time when Pixar made hair physics popular. Particles and hair can increase render times exponentially, so I use them sparingly for flavor. They were a good solution for tree leaves and adding some extra motion here and there. Hash uses the OG Phong lighting model from the 1970s, resulting in a phony yet mathematically satisfying look.
Modern modelers and game engines have moved on to advanced physical-based lighting, or PBR. Industry leaders, Disney, are ever pushing for this holy grail of photorealism that always seems to age like grotesque milk. While it's nothing new to disparage expensive movies,
I will continue to shake my fist at the CGI necromancy of intellectual property. The endless parade of creatively bankrupt movies coming down the pipeline.
Here are some tricks for cooking up a retro or traditional style of your own. Less is more. Turn off anti-aliasing and turn off ambient occlusion. I'm going for sharper edges and optimized render times. To manage shimmer produced by jagged edges, I lower the frame rate down. Old video game cutscenes had to be low resolution and low frame rate. Exporting an animation as a GIF forces you to work within the limits of the medium. GIF can't handle semi-transparency created by anti-aliased edges. Crusty GIFs were a common mistake from the early internet days. Not to mention limited color palettes. But you will have to use something like Photoshop in your pipeline. Experiment by restricting color palettes. Compensate for limited colors with dither patterns or posterization. If we want that vintage shadow look, use vintage ray tracing in Hash for hard shadows. Or roll with no shadows at all. I rewatched Reboot episodes recently and noticed all the times that they just go without shadows entirely. It makes the scenes where they do use shadows more dramatic. Remember that in the 90s, a render preview could take most of the day to load, so shipping something half-baked or jank is almost kind of a style. Maybe that's the core of retro CGI. Not fixation on realism, but an embrace of hardware or deadline limitations. So when and why did an accessible and powerful tool like Animation Master slip our collective memory? To get a better picture, we have to go back to the 80s. Hash Inc. started in the Pacific Northwest, just a few hours from me. I know that mountain. That's Mount Hood, and I can see it from my house. In the 80s, a software designer named Martin Hash was building tools at Hewlett-Packard. By 1987, he released his dream tool, Animation Apprentice. Affordable, powerful, and it ran on home computers like the Amiga. The following version was called Animation Journeyman, and after that, in 1992, they partnered with Will Vinton, the Claymation studio. They called it Playmation for a short time. You started seeing it everywhere on TV. Sesame Street, 90s ads. By 1996, Animation Master was dialed in as a fully featured professional package for home computers, and I'm sure it blew people's minds. Since the beginning, it could do full cartoon shading too. They even marketed it as an anime tool, or 3D CG as it was known in Japan. Most people discovered it at trade shows. Real-time demos by talent like Greg Rostami were legendary, and a great study for how to make a sale. My friend's dad picked up a copy from an expo. After seeing what it could do, my brother quickly purchased a copy online.
Y2K CGI aliens tell you all you need to know about that era. Animation Master was a beacon of hope for creatives who didn't want to spend as much as hundreds of thousands of dollars on a Silicon Graphics Workstation FX package. Hash attracted talented artists like Tom Falter, creator of the Hash Yellow mascot. He went on to work for VeggieTales. VeggieTales, like most pipelines, eventually moved on to Maya. Videos like Alien Song went viral before viral was even a thing. It was one of the worthy memes for summoning friends and family around a small computer monitor and waiting several minutes for the buffer to load for a 144p low bitrate laugh. The creator instantly got hired at Pixar. Years later, in a TED Talk, Victor Navone neglected to mention the name of the software that played such a crucial role in his professional journey. But Jeff Liu paid tribute to Hash in more ways than one. You know Jeff Liu, the Killer Bean guy? After blowing up the internet with his Matrix-style viral hit, Killer Bean 2: The Party, made a whole training DVD series for Animation Master. Then he ghosted Hash for Maya for his work in the industry. And this is the trend I keep coming across in my research. This keeps happening. Animation Master had a pattern. It attracted talented artists and enabled them to find their voice. And then they left or were snatched up by big studios. The industry favored software like Maya that teams were already working with. Hash was intended for indie artists to get their dreams out there. And that's why it thrived for a time and perhaps why it struggled to scale, acting as a sort of hallway or liminal stage to the start of a professional career in another pipeline. Projects like the Tin Woodman of Oz tried to prove it could scale. A full team led by Martin Hash, 2 full movies, all in Animation Master. I was resistant to watching Tin Woodman because I'm existentially afraid of CGI B movies. But as for researching this essay, I forced myself to sit down and take it in. I was charmed. Not because it was the best CGI film or the worst, but because I had several AI could never moments and some kind of mix of ironic and unironic enjoyment. It's got full original singing and dancing numbers and a decent all-around fairy tale vibe. I immediately recognized the voice of Robert Holman as the Scarecrow. Rob is a VIP in the Animation Master community, a sort of poster child, if you will, and very active in the forums to this day. Considering it was only a handful of animators working on this, it's totally worthy of at least my praise. And according to the comments, some amount of TikTok viral exposure. My only complaint is that there isn't a higher quality distribution yet. This is the software at its best, and it's really impressive considering it was a community film and not backed by a Hollywood budget like Shrek or Minions. Tin Woodsman of Oz is not boring, and it ain't no slop. You've probably heard the quote, "An idiot admires complexity while a genius admires simplicity." This is one of the sharpest shared quotes in modern times. It elevates basic tools like hammer or colored pencil to divine levels. We can't predict whether life will be harrowing or blissful, but we can take refuge in the small things by stopping to marvel at the miracle of it all. Hash isn't the most complex tool. It doesn't try to do everything. At its best, it gets out of the way. So, why does any of this matter? Animation Master isn't hiding, it's just easy to overlook. Built by designers like Martin Hash,
who just wanted to tell stories. The objective hasn't changed much in 40 years, and that's just fine with me. Over recent years, I've been building my own hash pipelines and putting them into practice. I made a native MS-DOS game in the FMV style of games like Myst, only using hash renders. I built the web graphics for my NeoCities using hash. I even made a VTuber out of rendered GIFs called a GIFtuber. I've been rendering CGI projects to real VHS tapes just for that liminal analog aura. Hash is frozen in time, affording minimal and approachable buttons and settings. No AI or feature bloat, as the pipeline has miraculously avoided the creep and complexity by refusing to conform. Animation Master's unchanging identity makes it a monumental tool for creatives who need specific, predictable quality. And this is just what works for me. I'm not here to sell you anything. Hash isn't paying me. It's not free, but there are reasonable paths to access the software. However, be warned that each version only work on their intended operating system. I subscribed for modern version support because I wanted to contribute to the community I have become close with. The words of my community college graphics design teacher still live rent-free in my head. While he wasn't making constant Freudian slips, he would occasionally say, "Know your tool." May you discover a way to tell stories in your own voice. May you find a tool to master, no matter how unassuming. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you in the future.